Recognize Mr. Norman for 5 minutes.
I want to thank the panel for taking the time. Mr. Mike, and I think what's been said here, and I'll ask all the panel, this country's, and I'm from South Carolina, I'm a real estate developer. Is the figures right? We are 20%, we contribute 20% to emissions as opposed to other countries.
If I'm correct, it's slightly less than that, maybe 15, 16, but ballpark, it's right.
Okay. And I've heard the other comments that that everybody needs to pay. How do we, if we're 16%, pick a figure, how will we make the other 82% pay their fair share?
So, first of all, we can generate a lot of innovative technologies here in the United States using our research enterprise that are exportable. We can share that knowledge through formal arrangements or informal ones, or simply through exports. We can also demonstrate, using a variety of policy instruments, that it is possible to have a thriving economy and a healthy society with lower greenhouse gas emissions, and we can export those models as well.
Okay. Any of the other panelists have any comments on that?
I'd be happy to comment.
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing to recognize with this very good question is that under the Paris Agreement, countries have voluntarily agreed to cut emissions, and people have evaluated the cost of these and the relative cost to gross domestic product. And actually, the United States voluntary contribution is actually quite low compared to its GDP. So other countries are volunteering to do more than their fair share. Thank you.
If that's the case, then it's really apparent now we need to put a price tag on, prioritize and put a price tag. Is that right? On what this is going to cost, like the green energy deal that's we're probably going to vote on. It's a non-binding resolution. But before we go doing away with flatulent cows, airplanes, we need to put a price on it, don't we?
Yeah, from a public policy perspective, we should always be cognizant of the costs and benefits of the choices we're making, and try to be judicious in moving forward, seeking low-cost options.
Yeah, in my world, you you find your goal, put a price tag on it, and then move from there. And I think everyone would agree this is going to cost dollars. It's going to cost it, and I think Dr. Kapp, you wouldn't put a figure on how much we're going to have to pay for gas, but it's going to be more expensive than what we've been paying. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think certainly the upfront cost of energy will go up, but average costs may go down. And I think it's really important that when we look at the costs, we're looking at the cost of climate change in comparison. There's a lot of economic work going on to try to evaluate those two, and these have to be balanced against
have
one
to be
another.
balanced. And would it not be fair with the increased costs, whatever figure we end up, you're going to rule out some of those most vulnerable communities that are not going to have access to energy, as an example. And then what kind of cost would that be to them on their health through PSD, through their mental health? How would we put a number on that?
Well, I mean, I think the intent is not to overly punish any particular class of people or any particular technology. It's to put in place a system that we all are going to benefit from in the long term. And that means that for day-to-day activities that people are going about, that they're able to do that in a low-carbon way. Great. What we need to do as a society is find ways that doesn't end up being too costly. And frankly, I don't know that it is going to be too costly. It's just a matter of making smart investments, leading the way to innovation, and then scaling those up through the private sector.
Dr. Mike, if as an example, this Green New Deal were implemented immediately, wouldn't you agree it's going to devastate our economy, and other countries are going to take up the practices that we're eliminating, as in you know, the cows that they grow, the other areas that we are going to have to, they will make the difference up in this, even though we don't.
Yeah, and in fact, you know, the Green New Deal is a moving target. It's not sure what it is, but based on my understanding from the resolution that's been introduced, as well as the things that have been said by its primary backers, the decarbonization, that is reducing the CO2 associated with economic activity, is one of the cheapest elements of the Green New Deal.
Thank you so much. I'm out of time. I yield back.